My name is Carolyn Stewart Gallagher. I'm 29 years old. 3 months ago, I opened my mother's purse, and everything I thought I knew about my family shattered. My parents spent $95,000 on my little sister's wedding, 280 guests, luxury resort, Vera Wang dress, open bar, live band, honeymoon in Hawaii. For my wedding, they looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We can't help, we're still recovering." So I worked every Christmas Eve shift, every New Year's night. I sold my husband's truck. I raided my retirement fund and paid the penalty. 65 guests, $32,000, all from my own pocket. Then I found the receipt, $40,000 refunded. From a secret party my mother was planning for my sister, a party my own father knew nothing about. In that moment, I didn't just lose trust in my mother. I realized my whole life had been built on a lie. If you're listening right now, let me know what time it is where you are. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Now let me take you back to the beginning. I'm a registered nurse at Honor Health Scottsdale Osborne Medical Center in Arizona. I've worked there for 6 years. I specialize in ICU. I've held dying patients' hands at 3 in the morning. I've told families the worst news of their lives. I've seen things that would break most people. But nothing prepared me for what my own family did. My sister Brittany is 3 years younger than me. 26. She works as a dental hygienist at a private practice in Tempe. Good job, decent money. But from the day she was born, Brittany was always different, special, at least in my mother's eyes. My mother, Sandra, is 58. She works as an office manager at Hartwell and Associates, a law firm in downtown Phoenix. She's organized, meticulous, controlled, and for as long as I can remember, she's been the one who handles all the money in our family. Money is Mom's job. That's what my father always said. Leonard Stewart, 63 years old. He used to work at Allied Auto Components, a car parts manufacturer. Good job, middle management. Then January 2021 happened. Layoffs. He was 58 years old and suddenly unemployed. Now he works part-time at H&R Block during tax season and picks up odd accounting jobs the rest of the year. After Dad lost his job, Mom took over everything. The joint account, the bills, the investments, the savings. Dad never questioned it. He trusted her completely. I understand that now. What trust can cost you. Growing up, I was always the responsible one, the older daughter, the one who got good grades without being asked, the one who cleaned her room, did her homework, never caused problems. Brittany was the baby, the sensitive one, the one who needed extra attention, extra patience, extra everything. Carolyn, you're the big sister. You have to understand. I heard that sentence so many times it became background noise, like traffic, like the hum of the refrigerator. Something you stop noticing because it's always there. I didn't realize until much later that understanding was just another word for accepting less. When Brittany got engaged in early 2024, our mother transformed. She became a woman possessed. Wedding planning became her full-time obsession. Venues, caterers, florists, photographers. She and Brittany would spend entire weekends together, laptop open, Pinterest boards multiplying like cells. Brittany was marrying Tyler Weston. His father owned 3 car dealerships in the Phoenix area. Good family, good money, good optics. The wedding was set for September 20th, 2024. The Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch, 280 guests, open bar, live band. A Vera Wang dress that cost $8,200. I know the exact number because I saw the receipt. My mother left it on the kitchen counter one afternoon, and I glanced at it while waiting for my coffee to brew. $8,200 for a dress worn once. The total wedding cost? $95,000. I sat at table 12 during that wedding, near the bathroom, the table where they put the cousins nobody talks to and the coworkers invited out of obligation. Connor was next to me, holding my hand, trying to pretend he didn't notice the seating chart. I watched my mother cry during the ceremony. Real tears. Her mascara ran. She dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief that probably cost more than my shoes. Brittany looked beautiful, radiant, like a princess in a fairy tale. And I was happy for her. I really was. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "When it's your turn, will they do this for you?" I buried that voice. I told myself I was being petty, jealous, ungrateful. 6 months later, I got my answer. Connor proposed on a Saturday evening in November 2024. South Mountain Park, just before sunset. The sky was orange and pink, and he got down on one knee with a ring he'd saved for 8 months to buy. $2,400, a modest diamond. Perfect to me. I said yes before he finished asking. I called my mother that night. 7:47 p.m. I remember because I looked at my phone before dialing, my hands still shaking from happiness. "Mom, Connor proposed. We're engaged." There was a pause, just a half second too long. "Oh, congratulations, honey. Connor's a good man." No squeal of excitement. No, "Let me talk to him." No, "When can we celebrate?" Then she said, "So, you're thinking small and simple, right? After Brittany's wedding, your father and I need some time to recover financially." The call lasted 4 minutes and 22 seconds. She didn't ask about the ring. She didn't ask about my plans. She didn't ask how I felt. 2 weeks later, I called again, this time to have the conversation I'd been dreading. "Mom, I wanted to ask, is there any way you and Dad could help with the wedding? Even partially?" She sighed. The kind of sigh that says I knew this was coming. "Honey, you have to understand. Brittany's wedding was expensive. More than we planned. Your father's been part-time for years. We had to dip into our savings. We're still paying off the credit card. And the roof needs repairs. And Grandma needs help with her medication costs." She listed reasons like items on a grocery receipt. Then came the sentence that cut deepest. "Besides, you and Connor both have good jobs. You're stable. Brittany needed more support because well, she's Brittany. You've always been the independent one, Carolyn. You don't need us the way she does." I don't need them. I've always been independent. Funny how something that sounds like a compliment can feel like abandonment. The call lasted 11 minutes. When I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. Connor found me like that 20 minutes later. What did she say? She said we're on our own. He sat down beside me, put his arm around my shoulder. Then we'll do it ourselves, together. That night, at 2 in the morning, we sat at our kitchen table with his old Dell laptop and a spreadsheet I built from scratch. Column A, expense. Column B, amount. Column C, source of funds. We needed at least $30,000 for a decent wedding, not Brittany's wedding, not a resort and Vera Wang and live band, just 65 guests. A nice venue, good food, a photographer, flowers, a dress that didn't cost more than my monthly salary. We had $6,200 in savings. We needed to find almost 24,000 more. I typed until 3 in the morning. My eyes burned. My coffee went cold twice. The last line I added to the spreadsheet was, "Sell Connor's truck." I looked at him. He was already looking at me. He nodded, didn't say a word. That truck was a 2018 Ford F-150 XLT, magnetic gray, 67,000 miles. It was the first thing Connor ever bought with his own money after his first real job. He washed it every Sunday, changed the oil himself, knew every scratch, every dent, every squeak. He put it on Facebook Marketplace the next morning. A man named Daniel Morrison bought it 2 weeks later. 34 years old, father of 2, needed a reliable truck for his landscaping business. He paid $18,500 in cash. We met in the parking lot of the Safeway on McDowell Road. 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Connor handed over the keys, signed the title, and shook Daniel's hand. I watched from my Honda Civic. I saw Connor stand there as Daniel drove away. He didn't move for a long time, just stood in that empty parking spot, watching the truck disappear around the corner. That night he said, "It's just a truck. You matter more." But I saw how he stared at the empty spot in the parking lot where the F-150 used to sit. I saw him reach for keys that weren't there anymore. We still needed more. So I did something I swore I'd never do. I went to HR at the hospital and filed a hardship withdrawal from my 401k. $8,200. Form 7892-CG. I signed it in the break room during my lunch shift, my hand trembling. The penalty was 10%. $820 gone, just like that. Plus taxes later. Another $1,600 approximately. $2,400 total, just for the privilege of accessing my own money early. The HR representative, a woman named Denise, looked at me with something like pity. "You know this will affect your retirement fund for decades, right?" I knew. I signed anyway. Signed. Then I started picking up every extra shift I could find. November, December, January, February, March. I worked nights, weekends, holidays. Christmas Eve 2024. I was in the ICU from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. while my family ate ham and opened presents at my parents' house in Paradise Valley. Brittany posted Instagram stories, champagne glasses, fairy lights, my mother laughing. Caption, "Family first." I saw it during my break, standing in the hallway outside room 412, where Mr. Gerald Patterson, 78 years old, was dying of congestive heart failure. At 11:47 p.m., Mr. Patterson looked up at me and said, "Merry Christmas, nurse." I smiled and adjusted his IV. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Patterson." New Year's Eve, same thing. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. At 11:59, I stood in the hallway and listened to fireworks in the distance. Somewhere out there, people were kissing, celebrating, starting fresh. I had blood on my scrubs from a code blue 2 hours earlier. We lost that one. I opened my phone. Brittany had posted again. Champagne, my parents. Tyler with his arm around her waist. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag family. Hashtag new year new me. I turned off my phone and went back to work. By March 2025, I had worked over 300 hours of overtime. That's 300 hours of holidays missed, birthdays skipped, dinners eaten alone in the hospital cafeteria under fluorescent lights that make everyone look half dead. Overtime rate, $52 per hour instead of my usual $38. Total extra income, $11,400. Combined with the truck money, the 401k withdrawal, and our savings, we had enough. We also had to cancel our honeymoon. We'd booked 7 nights in Maui through Expedia, the Hyatt Regency, Ocean View, $4,800 total. I canceled it and got back $45.60, lost $240 in fees. We replaced it with 3 nights at an Airbnb cabin in Sedona, $420 total. I told myself it would be romantic, cozy. We'd see the red rocks, drink wine on the porch, make the best of it. The night before my wedding, I looked at the spreadsheet one last time. Total expenses, $32,000. Total income, $32,000. Balance, 0. We'd done it. But the balance didn't account for what I'd lost. The sleep, the holidays, the honeymoon, the truck that meant everything to my husband, the retirement fund I'd been building since I was 23. You can't put those things in a spreadsheet. April 12th, 2025. My wedding day. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. in our one-bedroom apartment on 68th Street in Scottsdale. Couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts. My dress hung on the back of the closet door. Not Vera Wang. A dress from BHLDN called Willoughby Espana. Ivory. Size 6. $1,200. I'd found it on sale. It's 10. It was simple. Elegant. I loved it. I made coffee. Starbucks Pike Place. brewed at home because we couldn't afford to waste money on coffee shop drinks anymore, and sat on the couch in the gray morning light, staring at that dress. At 6:15, my phone buzzed. Text from Mom. "Good morning, sweetie. I'll be there for the ceremony. Have to take Brittany to get her hair done first. So excited for you." Brittany's hair appointment was at Salon Blonde, $280. Mom was paying. My mother was spending my wedding morning getting my sister's hair done. I didn't reply. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. at the Wright House in Mesa, 636 South Alma School Road. I'd found it after visiting 11 venues, comparing prices, negotiating with managers. 65 guests. About a quarter of Brittany's wedding. No live band. Just Mike from Desert Beats Entertainment. $850. No open bar. Just wine and beer with a 2-drink ticket limit. No Vera Wang. No Jimmy Choo. No Cartier. But when I walked down that aisle and I saw Connor standing there in his rented suit, his eyes wet, his smile so wide it looked like it might break his face, none of that mattered. "You're beautiful," he whispered when I reached him. "I'm the luckiest man alive." For one perfect moment, I believed him. Then I found my mother's eyes in the front row. She was smiling, polite, controlled, the same smile she gives the mailman. At Brittany's wedding, she'd cried so hard her mascara ran. She'd clutched my father's arm and sobbed about her baby girl growing up. At my wedding, she sat with her hands folded in her lap like she was attending a work conference. The reception was at the same venue. 7:30 p.m. Dinner was served. Speeches began. Connor's best friend gave a toast that made everyone laugh. My maid of honor, my college roommate Jessica, told embarrassing stories and made me cry happy tears. Then my mother stood up. The room quieted. 65 faces turned toward her. Someone clinked a glass. My mother smoothed her blouse, gray silk, probably expensive, and smiled. "I want to say a few words about my oldest daughter." I felt Connor's hand find mine under the table. His fingers were trembling slightly. "Carolyn has always been independent. From the time she was little, she knew how to take care of herself. She never needed anyone's help, not with school, not with her career, not even with us, her parents." She paused, made eye contact with me. "I'm so proud of her for building this life on her own. She's never needed anyone, not even us." She raised her glass. "To Carolyn and Connor, may your independence carry you through everything." The room erupted in applause. Someone shouted, "Cheers!" People clinked glasses. I sat there with a smile frozen on my face, champagne flute in hand, and felt something inside me crack. My mother had just stood in front of 65 people and turned 8 months of my suffering into a compliment. She'd rewritten the story. In her version, I wasn't abandoned. I was independent. I wasn't forced to sacrifice. I chose to. I didn't need help. I never wanted it. She'd made my pain sound like a virtue. Connor squeezed my hand so hard it almost hurt. His jaw was tight. He'd heard it too. Later that night, at the Airbnb in Sedona instead of the Hyatt in Maui, I sat on the edge of the bed and cried. Not because I was sad, not because I regretted marrying Connor. He was the best decision I ever made. I cried because I finally let myself feel everything I'd been holding back for 8 months. Connor held me, didn't try to fix it, didn't say it's okay or forget about them. He just held me and let me fall apart. At 11:48 p.m., he said, "You don't need them to see your worth. I see it, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." I didn't sleep that night, but when the sun came up over Cathedral Rock, painting the red rocks gold and pink, I made a decision. I was done expecting anything from my family. I was done hoping. It was easier that way. If you've ever been the strong one in your family, the one who never got to be weak, never got to need anything, never got to be the priority, drop the word toast in the comments. I want to know I'm not alone. 6 months passed. I saw my family occasionally. birthdays, a random Sunday dinner, the surface level contact that passes for closeness when real closeness died a long time ago. I didn't bring up the wedding. Neither did they. We pretended everything was fine. That's what this family does best. Then came October 15th, 2025. My mother called that morning. Her iPad was having iCloud sync problems, and she needed help fixing it. "You're so good with technology, Carolyn. Could you swing by?" I didn't want to go. But some part of me, the part that still wanted to be a good daughter, still wanted to matter, said yes. I drove 25 minutes from my apartment to their house in Paradise Valley, Mockingbird Lane, the house I grew up in, the house that holds memories I'm no longer sure are real. I arrived at 10:30 a.m. Mom was home alone. Dad was at H&R Block. The iPad was easy to fix. Logged out of iCloud, logged back in, waited for sync. Standard stuff. But when the sync completed, a calendar notification popped up. One entry. September 10th, 2025, 10 a.m. Call venue Brittany's second reception refund. I stared at it for 3 seconds, maybe 4, long enough for the words to rearrange themselves into something that made no sense. Brittany. Second reception. Refund. What second reception? I took a screenshot, saved it to my camera roll, then cleared the notification before my mother came back into the room. "All done, sweetheart?" she called from the kitchen. "Yeah, Mom. All fixed." I grabbed my purse and headed for the front door. I needed to leave, needed to think. But I passed through the kitchen first, and that's when I saw it. My mother's purse, sitting on the granite countertop, open, unzipped, a white corner of paper sticking out. I shouldn't have looked, I know that. Some people might call what I did a violation of privacy. But after everything, after the wedding, after the toast, after 8 months of sacrificing everything while being told I never needed anyone, I think I'd earned the right to look. I pulled out the receipt, white paper, laser printed, professional letterhead, the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch, the same venue where Brittany got married. My eyes moved down the page. Refund processed, $40,000. Event date, September 20th, 2025. Cancellation requested by Sandra Stewart. Refund issued July 25th, 2025. $40,000. For an event on September 20th, exactly 1 year after Brittany's wedding, an anniversary party, a second reception, something my mother had been planning, had put down $40,000 for, and then canceled, something I never knew existed. My hands were cold, my heartbeat was in my ears. "Con? You almost ready to go?" Mom's voice from the hallway. Getting closer. I took a photo of the receipt, slid it back into the purse exactly as I'd found it, walked to the front door on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. "Thanks for fixing the iPad, honey. Let's do dinner soon." "Sure, Mom. Soon." I drove to the Walgreens parking lot on Shea Boulevard and sat in my car for 45 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the 2 photos on my phone. The calendar entry, Brittany's second reception refund. The receipt, $40,000. Cancellation requested by Sandra Stewart. And one question kept spinning through my mind. Does Dad know? I spent the next week doing research. I called the venue, used a fake name, asked about their cancellation policy for large events. "If you cancel more than 60 days before the event date, you're eligible for a 90% refund," the woman told me. Less than 60 days, it drops significantly. The event was supposed to be September 20th. The refund was issued July 25th. That meant my mother had canceled around July 10th, about 72 days before. Just inside the window for a full refund. She'd planned this, calculated it, known exactly when to pull the plug to get her money back. But why was there a second reception in the first place? Brittany got married in September 2024. Why plan a $40,000 anniversary party, and why cancel it? I thought about calling Brittany directly, confronting her, demanding answers. But something told me to go to my father first. On October 21st, I texted him. Dad, I need to talk to you. Just you, not Mom. Can we meet tomorrow morning? He replied in 3 minutes. Is everything okay? You're worrying me. I don't know yet. Please, just us. Okay, honey. Cartel coffee, 9 a.m. The next morning, October 22nd, I walked into Cartel Coffee Lab on Stetson Drive in Scottsdale and found my father already sitting at a corner table by the window. He was wearing a navy polo shirt. His hair had more gray than I remembered. He looked older, tired. Carolyn. He stood up and hugged me. What's going on? You sounded serious. I sat down across from him. He had a cortado in front of him. $4.50. I ordered water. I couldn't stomach anything else. Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. He nodded slowly. Okay. I took a breath. Do you know anything about a second reception for Brittany? His face went blank, then confused. A second what? What are you talking about? An anniversary party? Something planned for September this year, at the Scottsdale Resort. He shook his head. Carolyn, I have no idea what you're talking about. Brittany and Tyler separated in March. There's no anniversary to celebrate. The words hit me like cold water. Wait, Brittany separated? You didn't know? No, nobody told me. My father's face changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Shame. Your mother told me not to tell you. She said you were busy with your wedding and she didn't want to upset you. I thought she'd told you after. My sister had been separated from her husband since March 15th, 2025, 1 month before my wedding. And nobody told me. I pulled out my phone, opened the photos, slid it across the table. Dad, look at this. He picked up the phone, looked at the calendar entry first, then the receipt. I watched his face go pale. 47 seconds. He didn't speak for 47 seconds. I counted. Then he set the phone down. His hand was shaking. Where did you find this? Mom's purse. And her iPad. $40,000. He said the number like he was testing if it was real. For a party I didn't know about. Dad, did that money come from your joint account? He looked at me. And in that moment, I saw something break. I don't know, he said quietly. I haven't looked at our accounts in years. Your mother handles all of that. Can you check? Can you see if $40,000 was deposited in July? He pulled out his own phone, opened the banking app. I watched him scroll, his fingers clumsy. I'm looking at our joint account, he said slowly. July 25th. There's no deposit for $40,000. Nothing? Nothing. We sat in silence. The coffee shop noise faded into background static. Dad, I said carefully, if that refund didn't go into the joint account, where did it go? He looked up at me with eyes I barely recognized. I don't know. 2 weeks passed. I told Connor everything. He held me while I cried again. Not from sadness this time, but from a rage so deep I didn't know where it came from. What do you want to do? He asked. I want answers, and I want them to say it to my face. We planned it carefully. I wasn't going to ambush anyone. I wasn't going to scream or throw things or make a scene I'd regret later. I was going to sit them down, show them the evidence, and ask questions. Simple questions. Questions they couldn't answer without exposing the truth. I texted the family group chat on November 5th. We need to have a family meeting. Everyone. Thursday the 20th, 7 p.m., Mom and Dad's house. It's important. Mom replied immediately. What's this about, honey? I didn't answer. November 20th, 2025, 7 p.m. Connor and I arrived exactly on time. The house looked the same as it always did. Warm lights in the windows, Mom's Lexus in the driveway, the same potted plants on the porch that had been there since I was 12. Inside, they were waiting. Mom sat on the cognac leather couch, legs crossed, a cup of tea on the coffee table in front of her. She was wearing a gray cashmere sweater, calm, composed, like she was hosting a book club meeting. Brittany sat next to her, in jeans and a cream sweater, arms crossed over her chest. Defensive already. Dad sat in the armchair by the window. He knew what was coming. He'd known since the coffee shop. "So," Mom said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "what's this big meeting about? You've been so mysterious, Carolyn." I sat down across from her, Connor beside me. I placed my iPad on the coffee table. "I found something," I said, "and I need you to explain it." I turned on the iPad, opened the first photo, the receipt. "This was in your purse, Mom." She looked at it. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her shoulders tense slightly. "You went through my purse?" "I saw it when I was helping you with your iPad. It was sticking out." "That's private, Carolyn." "So is the truth, apparently." I let that sit. $40,000, I said. "Refunded from the Scottsdale resort. For a second reception for Brittany. An anniversary party that was supposed to happen in September." Brittany shifted on the couch, didn't meet my eyes. "Why didn't I know about this?" Mom sighed, the kind of sigh she used when she thought I was being difficult. "It was supposed to be a surprise. For Brittany. A gift for her 1-year anniversary. I'd been planning it since January." "January," I repeated. "You were planning a $40,000 party for Brittany in January, 2 months before my wedding. The same wedding you said you couldn't afford to help with." "Those are two different things, Carolyn." "Are they?" "The anniversary party was paid for with my personal savings, not family money." "Your personal savings?" "Yes, money I've been setting aside for years. It has nothing to do with what we could or couldn't do for your wedding." I looked at my father. He was staring at the floor. "Dad," I said, "did you know about this party?" He shook his head slowly. "No." "Did you know Mom had $40,000 in personal savings?" He looked up, looked at my mother, then back at me. "No." The room went very quiet. I opened the second photo on the iPad, the calendar entry. "This was on your iPad, Mom. The notification popped up when I was fixing it." She glanced at it. "So?" "It says Brittany's second reception refund, July. You canceled the party months after Brittany separated from Tyler. But you didn't tell anyone. You didn't tell Dad. And you definitely didn't tell me." "Why would I tell you? It was a private matter." "A private matter," I laughed. It sounded wrong, sharp. "Mom, I worked Christmas Eve in the ICU while you ate dinner with the family. I sold my husband's truck. I raided my retirement fund. I paid the penalty. I gave up my honeymoon. All because you said you couldn't afford to help me." My voice cracked. I steadied it. "And the whole time, you had $40,000 sitting in an account you never told Dad about. You were planning a party that cost more than my entire wedding. For the same daughter you already gave $95,000 to." Brittany finally spoke. "Carolyn, you're making this into a bigger deal than it is. You've always been fine on your own. You didn't need help. You said so yourself." "I said that?" "You've always said you're independent, that you don't need anyone." "I said that because I had to. Because every time I asked for anything, I was told that I should understand, that Brittany needed more, that I was the strong one." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. "Do you know what I did to afford my wedding, Brittany? Do you actually know?" She didn't answer. "I'll tell you." I spoke slowly, clearly, like I was reading a medical chart. "I worked 300 hours of overtime. That's Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, every weekend for 8 months. I held dying people's hands while you were drinking champagne at Mom and Dad's house." Connor sold his truck, the first thing he ever bought for himself. $18,500. Gone. I withdrew $8,200 from my 401k and paid an $820 penalty, plus $1,600 in taxes. Almost $2,500 lost just to access my own money. I canceled my honeymoon. 7 nights in Maui became 3 nights in an Airbnb in Sedona. I did all of that because our parents looked me in the eyes and said they couldn't help. And the whole time, Mom was sitting on $67,000 in a secret account and planning a $40,000 party for you. Silence. Brittany's face was red. She looked like she wanted to disappear. I didn't know, she whispered. That's the point. I turned back to my mother. The money, Mom. Where did the refund go? She lifted her chin, defiant. Into my savings account, my personal account. The one Dad doesn't have access to? I'm entitled to my own money. I pulled up one more document on the iPad. I'd asked my father to check something, to request a statement from Chase Bank. This is a screenshot Dad took yesterday of the joint account you share. There's no $40,000 deposit in July, no record of this money ever existing. I turned the iPad toward my father. Dad, did you know Mom has a separate account? One that's not shared with you? His voice was barely a whisper. No. I looked at my mother. Her face was stone. How much is in that account, Mom? She didn't answer. Dad requested a credit check yesterday. Standard procedure when you're refinancing. He found an account he didn't know about. A Chase account. In your name only. I let the silence stretch. $67,340. My father made a sound I'd never heard before, something between a cough and a sob. Sandra, he said, is that true? She didn't look at him. Everyone needs emergency money. Everyone needs a backup. It's not about you, Leonard. It's about survival. Survival from what? I'm your husband. We've been married 35 years. That's exactly why. The room felt like it was underwater. Heavy. Slow. I watched my father look at the woman he'd loved for 35 years. The woman who handled the money because he trusted her completely. The woman who told him they were struggling while sitting on $67,000 he didn't know existed. And I watched something in him break. I don't want the money, I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. I never wanted the money. I wanted to know where I stood. I wanted to know if I mattered to this family as much as Brittany does. I looked at my mother. And now I have my answer. I stood up. Connor rose beside me. I'll be in touch when I'm ready, I said. But that's not going to be today, or tomorrow, or any time soon. I walked toward the door. My mother's voice followed me. Carolyn, you're being dramatic. This is a misunderstanding. If you just listen. I turned. Mom, I don't need your money. I never did. But I needed to know I mattered. I needed to know that when you said you couldn't help me, you actually couldn't help me. My voice was steady, calm, the calmest I'd ever been. You could have helped. You chose not to. And then you stood up at my wedding and turned my suffering into a toast about how independent I am. I took a breath. I'm done trying to earn something that should have been given freely. I'm done being the daughter who understands. I'm done being the one who needs less because I learned to want less. I opened the front door. I'm not the strong one anymore. I'm just someone who finally sees the truth. We left at 8:47 p.m. The drive home took 25 minutes. Connor held my hand the entire way. Neither of us spoke. That night, I didn't cry. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. The wondering was over. The hoping was over. The pretending was over. I finally knew exactly where I stood. 2 months have passed since that night. My mother has not apologized. She sent 2 text messages. The first, 3 days after the meeting, was 847 words long. It explained her perspective, her reasons, her right to financial security. Nowhere in those 847 words were the words, "I'm sorry." The second text came at Christmas. "Merry Christmas, Carolyn, we miss you. The door is always open." I didn't respond to either. Brittany texted me once, January 10th, 2 words, "I'm sorry." I replied, "For what?" She never answered. I don't think she knows. But my father changed. He called me a week after the meeting. His voice was different, older, but somehow clearer. "I opened my own bank account," he said. "First time in 35 years. How does it feel?" Terrifying. And right. He's not leaving my mother. I don't think he will. 35 years is a long time, and he's 63 years old, and starting over at that age is harder than anyone who hasn't done it can imagine. But he's awake now. He sees things he didn't see before. He told me, "I'm sorry I didn't protect you better. I'm sorry I didn't ask more questions. I'm sorry I let your mother convince me that you were fine, that you didn't need us." "I forgave you," I said, "the moment you said you didn't know." And I meant it. Last week, Connor and I signed the lease on a new apartment. 2 bedrooms, 12 minutes from the hospital. Desert Ridge Apartments in Tempe. $16.80 a month, move-in date February 1st. We paid the deposit ourselves. $33.60. No help from anyone. When I signed my name on that lease, my hand was steady. Not like when I signed the 401k withdrawal, trembling with desperation. This time, I signed because I wanted to, because we built this, because nobody can take it from us. Tonight, I'm sitting on our couch, the same couch where I typed that spreadsheet at 2 in the morning, and looking out the window at the parking lot where Connor's truck used to sit. We're buying a new truck next year. Used. Probably a 2019 or 2020. Nothing fancy. But it'll be ours. Everything we have will be ours. I used to think being the strong one was a compliment. I used to think that if I just tried hard enough, worked hard enough, needed little enough, my family would finally see me. I don't think that anymore. Now I know. Being seen shouldn't require auditions, love shouldn't have conditions, and family shouldn't be a competition you lose before it starts. My mother had $67,000 hidden away. She had enough for both daughters. She chose to give it all to one. That's not a budgeting problem. That's a values problem. And I can't fix someone else's values. What I can do is build something different. Something honest. Something where "I love you" means I love you, and not "I love you when you're useful." If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. If you're the one in your family who always had to understand, who never got to need anything, who was told their independence was a gift when really it was a sentence, I see you, you're not alone, and you deserve better. Drop a comment if this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and if you're going through something similar, tell me about it. I read every single comment. My name is Carolyn Stewart Gallagher. I'm 29 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself.